today?
Hi, my name's Janae.
Nice to meet you, Janae. Nice to have you. Nice to have you. We're excited because today's conversation is going to be about the FHA 203k renovation loan. You have completed this loan, right?
I have.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling accomplished. I'm feeling motivated to start the next one. And yeah, just overall just grateful.
Okay, starting the next one. So today's conversation, we're going to talk a little bit about Janae, her FHA 203k, the process, her thought process, her mentality, how it went, she's completed, and what's next. Anything else I'm missing?
No.
Okay, let's jump into it. So, Janae, this is your first home. Can you talk a little bit about what you purchased?
I purchased this single family home with an additional dwelling unit. So 2 homes on 1 lot.
Got it. Can you talk about each home and how it looked and what type of shape it was in?
Yeah, so the home next door, the single family, was originally a 3-bed, 1-bath, and it was down completely to the studs. So I didn't have any electric, didn't have any up-to-date plumbing, didn't have any drywall, all the walls were exposed. And then this home was a 2-bed, 1-bath, didn't need really any cosmetic work, just the cosmetic work that I wanted personally for my preference, but didn't need any work. So the only house that needed work was the house next door.
Okay. Yeah. So we're in the additional dwelling unit right now, and then the home next door on the same lot was a single family home with down to the studs.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that's what you ended up purchasing. So before we get to all the fun details about the process and the renovation, things of that sort, let's back it up and talk about your mindset. So you're getting ready to purchase your first home, whatever that may look like. Talk about some of the things that you were looking for when you decided that you wanted to purchase a home.
Yeah, I have always wanted to house hack. So that was something that I wanted to have going forward. So just looking for a home that had up-to-date finishes, had, LVP flooring, up-to-date finishes in the kitchen, and I wanted to be on, a safe and a quiet street.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit about what house hacking meant to you? What is house hacking? What were you looking for about house hacking? Because we see sometimes some people want to rent out just rooms. Some people want a duplex. Some people want separate walls. What was it to you that you were looking for?
Yeah, so the research that I did, and this was back in right before the pandemic. So 2019, 2018 is when I first heard about it. I actually met someone at work that was doing it. They owned a duplex. And I just thought it was amazing. Like, you don't pay anything in a mortgage. They had a duplex. And it was actually in Greensboro, North Carolina, where I went to school at. And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like, you don't have to pay any mortgage. You don't have to worry about anything. And I did research about it, heard about it, but never really went through with it. And then I met you, and you were the second person that I knew about it. And I was like, man, like, the next time I'm serious about wanting to buy a home, I would like to do it that way, because I just think that's a great way to minimize your expenses when things come up. So that was something I wanted to do moving forward. So I had that out in mind. I either wanted the mortgage to be paid in full, which meaning after my tenant paid the mortgage, I would have, not a mortgage, or I would like to just break even. So, yeah.
Got it. So just to recap, house hacking is an opportunity for you to own a property and have some of your space be rented out. That could look like a duplex, like the individual you met in Greensboro. That could look like a single family home and you're renting out the rooms. That could look like you have a big house with a nice big yard. You could put an RV in this back space. I have a friend that's done that. But just renting out that additional space to help subsidize the mortgage, or in the best case, like you said with that person in Greensboro, it covers the mortgage completely while you're living in the other unit. So cool. You were excited about that. I also been doing that for a while. Big house hacking enthusiast. And I think it's a great way, especially if you want to get into real estate investing. It's a great way to segue into understanding about real estate, being a landlord, or you don't have to be a landlord. You could get a property manager, but I digress. Beginning in a way to get close to your property and see what's going on and understanding about a house. So cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. You have a goal in mind. You want to do some sort of house hacking. Now you hit the market. So you're starting the searching process. What's it looking like out there?
So I'm not going to say where I live, but I live in one of the oldest states in America. So very old homes, nothing was up to date. I just did not like it at all. And then I was also living in a luxury apartment. I've always lived in a luxury apartment. So where I was wanting to go, like a lot of the duplexes and a lot of the homes that we were going into, they weren't up to date. Now, there was some single family homes that I looked at very early on. Those were more doable. I saw that it was more up to date, but the duplexes in the homes like this, they were not up to date at all. So it took me about 5.5 months to find this property, and it was just because of my own personal preference. I don't think anything was wrong with the other homes, but I just didn't like just the finishes in there. I just thought it needed to be more up to date.
Okay, so some of the requirements were the actual asset itself, the type of finishes that were in there, but then also, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Also the property taxes. So once we completed everything, so one thing that I wanted to make sure, once I moved out of the unit and I got 2 tenants in both sides of the units, I wanted to make sure that the mortgage was covered, or I broke even, like I said. So with that, I had to do all of my calculations about the property taxes, principals, and insurance, because as you know, taxes and insurance always raises. So one thing that we were running into, the property taxes were extremely high, and it just didn't make sense even after I moved out. So the numbers also had to make sense for me as well.
Okay, gotcha. So the 3 things were, I think it was 3. One was a safe, quiet street that you felt comfortable living in. 2 was the actual unit that you would live in was up to your finishes, up to your tier, or if you needed to do some work, it was little. It was very little. And then 3 was you wanted to, after you moved out of the property down the road, you want to be able to at least cover the mortgage.
Right.
And you were finding it was difficult because property taxes were so expensive in the places you were looking at. Okay. Right. So during that process, you have your 3 kind of requirements of the things you were going through. How long did it take you to decide that maybe you might need to pivot or do something different?
So I started looking for a home in the end of February. I remember February 27th was the first day we actually looked at homes.
2025.
2025. We were looking at homes, and it was probably like June when I realized I would have to probably pivot. And that was around the time as well that my realtor mentioned 203k, and I had never heard of 203k before.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned your realtor shared with you about the 203k loan. First of all, how did you even meet your realtor? How did you even go about finding a realtor? You're a new homeowner, or was going to be, I mean now you are, but was going to be a new homeowner. How did you even go about that process of finding a realtor?
Yeah, so in 2024, I mentioned to my mom that I wanted to buy a home, or at least started to look for a home, and she went on Facebook and went to like a real estate Facebook group page, and she just mentioned that her daughter was looking for a home in the region that I was living in, and you know, people started responding, and they recommended my current realtor now, Telly Soto. So I reached out to her in 2024, and we're going back and forth, and some things came up, and I realized I would have to wait another year to buy a home because I just wasn't quite ready. And I want to say the end of 2024, she followed up with me and was like, hey, it was so nice meeting you earlier in this year. I know that you said you wanted to start looking for a home early 2025. You know, I'm still very much a realtor. I'm also at this new company, and I just really liked that she followed up with me. I didn't even look for another realtor. I just thought that was just something that, you know, she remembered me by. So I went with her.
Got it. So she had that hustle, stayed consistent,
Yeah.
kept following up, and that really piqued your interest and you decided to work with her.
Yeah.
So nothing really about real estate knowledge outside maybe she had a few things she was sharing with you, but it wasn't anything particular yet that you were really looking for. So it just kind of happened that she was a hustler. Obviously she had some experience being a real estate agent, and you felt comfortable with her and thought it would be a good fit. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's cool. So she knew about the 203k program and then introduced it to you.
That's correct.
As you kept kind of struggling trying to find properties that would work.
Yeah, and then I told her we were probably going to have to pivot because I did get a little discouraged, and I was like, maybe I should get a single family home, a nice townhome. And she was like, no, you can also do 203k. And I was like, well, what's 203k? And she introduced that to me.
And I think that's important to say. This loan, amongst investments and things of that sort, your realtor has to be somebody that's a go-getter, that's willing to go through and go through the hunt and help you find properties. Because even when you're house hacking, or just looking for a duplex, or looking for something, you decided maybe you want to go the 203k route, you'll need somebody like a realtor that's super strong and consistent and has the same mind and is wanting you to reach your goal.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And it's also I was incredibly blessed with the entire team, down from my GC to my realtor to my HUD consultant. And you know what you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. So she definitely knew about the 203k. I didn't even think of asking about that loan product. So for her to know that, and eventually later finding out when I was complete with this, that I was her fourth 203k client, I was like, wow, I got really lucky or blessed to even be introduced to her, because that was something that when I was looking for a realtor, or even thinking about a realtor before I met her, I didn't think to ask them, are you qualified in this? So that's definitely something, you should ask your realtor. What have you done besides sell a house?
Yeah. Besides doing the stereotypical first-time homeowner or, a luxury house, these homes that you're going to be investigating for, they're going to be a little bit funky, and you're going to need to lean on them for some other things, which we'll talk to as we continue on this conversation. So you mentioned around her knowing about the 203k program. What did she say about it to you?
Yeah, she said that the 203k program allowed for homeowners to invest into the property, whether that was fix up the bathroom, fix up the kitchen, or do a full gut, which meant getting new electricity, plumbing, and without using their own money. So when you hear not using your own money, ding, 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 you're like, okay, what does that mean? Because again, you don't really know what that means. And she said that you were able to wrap it up in the loan, which means you don't have to pay, again, upfront money for that.
Gotcha. So because you never owned a home, how were you feeling? And we'll talk about like in detail exactly the FHA 203k, what all it is. But hearing that you hadn't owned a home, and now she's telling you, go buy a home, even though you don't have to put the money up, you still got to go and do a renovation.
Yeah.
And you just talked about a luxury apartment complex that you were living in. Did you switch a light before? Have you turn off and turn on the circuit before? Like, what it came to you, even though you didn't need have to have all the money out of pocket, how did you feel thinking that, okay, maybe I can do a renovation?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to you about this the other day in the car. I didn't really think that I couldn't do it. Like, I looked it up, I went on ChatGPT, and it gave me exactly what I needed. And I just didn't think that, it didn't really cross my mind that I couldn't do it. Like, that just was another option, because I also got to the point where I was just tired of looking at homes that I did not like. And she was putting me in some of the best neighborhoods. I just didn't like the homes. Yeah. I just didn't like, and I came to the realization, if I can put my own touch on the home, I'm okay with that. So, and that's why I went this route, really. Okay,
cool. So she kind of told you what it looked like. And you're like, okay, I can kind of do that. So now you start looking at homes with a different type of lens that one, you still want a house hack, but two, I can fix things up. And so now that you have this thought process, you end up searching for a home. Talk about, where did you search? What did you, like, where do I even find homes? Because now you're like, okay, I'm cool with homes that need to be fixed up. Are they just homes from Zillow? Are they home, like, what? How was that process? How did you go about searching for a home once you now knew you wanted to maybe do the 203k loan?
Yeah, so it was really just realtor.com and Zillow.
Okay.
I actually took a little break the whole month of July from looking at homes just because I had just got a little just overwhelmed by everything. And she sent this home via Zillow. It was actually mislisted. I talked about this earlier too. It was mislisted as a duplex and not a single family home with an ADU. But I use Realtor and Zillow.
Okay, gotcha. And so once you knew about the 203k loan, to get the dirty details, did you just start looking at homes because we heard from her, or did you try to get with the actual lender to give you, more of the details and the insight about the program?
No, so I didn't. After she told me about the product, I looked it up, read about what I needed to do, and then I just kind of had it in my back pocket for the information that I needed. Because to me, it didn't sound that hard. It gave out the clear instructions. And one thing I did like about the whole process was having a HUD consultant, because that was the person that kind of protected the homeowner. So I always felt like, well, if I have somebody that's going to be my mouthpiece or someone that'll be speaking up for me, I was fine with that. So read that information, put it in my back pocket, and that was something that it gave me a new lens when I looked at homes. Like if I was looking at homes and, I'm like, well, I like it, but it's this, because that's what my realtor started to ask me. You like the home, but what else is it? Do you not like the floors? Do you not like the kitchen? Do you not like the bathroom? So that's why she really started to bring up 203k, because we were not going to be finding homes for my taste.
Okay, great. So you have the FHA 203k loan in the back of your pocket as you continue to look at homes. At the time, you had only done some research, and then you had your realtor tell you about the FHA 203k loan.
Yes.
So I think this is a perfect way to segue into what the heck is the FHA 203k loan, and fix me or come in wherever I miss out on. So FHA 203k loan allows the primary residence to get up to 1 to 4 units. And during that time, they can go ahead and tie up the renovation cost in the loan. So what that might look like is you only need to put 3.5% down as your down payment of the cost of the home, the purchase price. And then from there, the renovation portion is wrapped up in the loan, and that makes your whole total mortgage.
That's correct.
So for example, $100,000 purchase price house, you put 3.5% down, so $3,500. And then you'll have your closing cost, which is estimated to about, I think they say standard is like 1.5%. Always fact check me and check with your lender. Typically 1 to 1.5% of the purchase price is the additional closing cost. And then from there, the $100,000, let's just say, is needed for the renovation. That is tied into your mortgage.
That's correct.
And so the renovation, you don't have to pay out of pocket from day one. So that's when you say, oh, I'm using other people's money. One, I don't know about you, but I don't always want to bring $100,000 down to do a renovation.
Right.
So now that's the OPM, the other people's money from the bank. And also, too, of course, you're going to eventually have to pay it back. But we'll talk about how you'll pay it back. Because, of course, Janae said she wanted the house hack. So we'll talk about who is paying it back. But also, too, what was I going to say about the payback? But anyways, you do have to eventually pay that back. And that is in a 30-year note mortgage.
Right.
Okay, cool.
But just like anything, it's like a car. You can just get a nice car and this is different from a house from a car. But you can pay it back and it'll be okay, like monthly payments.
Yes. However, one is a liability, one is not. One gives you so much more.
Right, but yes.
Okay, cool. Yes, it's like a car. But anyways, so that's what the FHA 203k is. One's liability, one's asset. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyways, so that's the FHA 203k, 1 to 4 units. That is key because we talked about what Janae purchased. And also too, again, things are always changing with this loan, but at least this is to introduce you of what you've kind of heard in the past about this loan. One other thing too is the type of housing, right? It could be a duplex. It could be a single family home. It could be, you see sometimes in the northern part of the United States, maybe a single apartment on the top, a commercial unit on the bottom. So that's the exciting thing about this. Is there anything I'm missing about the loan before we jump into like the people that are involved in the loan?
You didn't mention I do have to stay here. This does have to be my primary residence for at least a year.
At least a year. Yep. That's a caveat. You got to be at the home for at least a year. And after that, it's up to you. And we'll talk about some strategies that you can do after that.
It'll go by faster. I've been here 6 months already.
Yes. Yeah. Because it depends on how big of a renovation you do. Half of that's already can be eaten up in just doing renovations. So the time can go by so quick or so slow. Okay, cool. I think it's a good time to segue into talking a little bit more about who is involved in the FHA 203k. So obviously she mentioned that her introduction was from her realtor about the 203k loan. And they play a component because obviously you can't do any of that until you purchase the property. So they're there in the beginning. Then you have a lender that is the one that's going to be handling all the back end paperwork and details of the loan. Then depending on the renovation costs, depends if you have this third person. This is called a HUD consultant. Mm-hmm. So let me explain to you, give it to you to talk a little bit about what a HUD consultant does, especially based off your use, how you use them.
Yeah, so the HUD consultant is in charge of making sure that the draws are distributed, and they also make sure that the general contractor is doing the work correctly. So just say that I needed a toilet and a shower head installed in my bathroom. The HUD consultant is just verifying that toilet and that shower head was indeed installed.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think right now it's about $75,000 or more for a renovation is when it's mandatory to have a HUD consultant. And we'll talk about how to find all these people as we continue on. And then the last person is going to be the person who does the renovations.
I do want to add though, and again, this didn't happen to me, but my HUD consultant also let me know there's going to be several different signatures before the general contractor can get paid as well. So he does verify again that the toilet or the shower head is installed properly. But just say I don't like the type of toilet that was installed, or I don't like the type of shower head that's installed. It's still up to me to say, hey, it was installed correctly, but I didn't like the finish on this toilet or this shower head. So that still leaves like some room for you and the general contractor to kind of have some rigidness a little bit. So I do just want to mention that as well too. So this, and very early on, you could talk about your wants and your needs from your contractor so you don't run into that. But that is one thing that I do want to say, like the HUD consultant is just verifying that the work was completed, not anything else added to that work.
Yeah. Glad you added that part. And so then you kind of lean into it. Your general contractor, which has to be a licensed and insured general contractor.
Yes. And the bank does ask for their license and all of their certifications before they even get started.
Yeah. And that is the person who's doing all the work. I do not believe this, when you talk about doing renovations, my understanding as of today, you cannot do the renovations yourself.
No DIY, no cousin, no aunt. They have to be licensed and insured general contractor.
Great. And we'll talk about some of the red tape, because there is a good bit of this in the FHA 203k loan that the general contractor will have to maneuver and handle. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is what this is, and those are the team members. You have it in the back of your head that you want an FHA 203k loan. You see a property. All right, what happens?
So we toured this property. Well, actually, it's so funny. So you sent this property, and I was just, because I like this. I like that it was 2 homes. And then I was swiping, and I swiped to the house next door, and I was like, no, I don't want to deal with this. This is just too much. And then my realtor Telly sent it maybe like 2 days later. And I saw it again. I was like, oh, I just saw this. I'm like, I like it, but it's maybe too much work. I don't know. And so I was like, she was like, well, let's just still go see it. So we went out, and the moment I walked into the house next door, the single family, I just really liked it. I liked the openness. I love the fireplace. I love the kitchen layout. And upstairs had a lot of potential. So I came next door, and I like the street, and yeah, and that's when my realtor brought up again, like, I know that next door would need a lot of work, but have you thought about, what I mentioned, a few months prior, the 203k, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so kind of like first love at sight.
It wasn't first love at first sight, but I definitely took some pictures, and I was like, I see the potential, like almost immediately. And I put it in ChatGPT and all the just things that I wanted, like the finishes, like the flooring, the paint. And I put it in ChatGPT, and I was like, yes. Then it was love at first sight. So I mentioned it to my realtor that I, ran the numbers. The property taxes were a little higher, but the numbers made sense after I moved in. So yeah, we put an offer in.
Okay, so you saw a single family house.
Mm-hmm.
You looked at it, it needed a good bit of work, but you also loved that there was an additional dwelling unit that you could live in the next day.
Yeah, and I also too, that's one thing I thought about too. I was not sharing a wall with my tenant, which I hadn't seen a property like this before.
Gotcha.
You hear about single family homes with additional dwelling units front to back, but these 2 homes are right next to each other. So it just gave that kind of like, not the landlord feel or landlord living next to the person. Like, it was totally, I had my own backyard. They had their own backyard. And I just really liked that.
Yeah. So one, it didn't share that wall. It felt like really separate living. And you thought that you could handle the work, especially after you saw what the possibilities that could be done with ChatGPT.
Right.
I think ChatGPT might need its own little piece. But because this was your first time renovating a home, you can lean on resources such as ChatGPT and other Pinterest.
Yeah.
What other resources did you lean on when it came to design, since we were just talking about that?
Yeah, just ChatGPT and Pinterest. I did look at TikTok, and that was just a little bit more about how were the pros and cons. And I looked at YouTube, actually. Yeah. YouTube, I really went full force into 203k, do's and don'ts. And yeah. Those are some platforms.
Some of those resources, especially Instagram, looking at videos, photo, colors, things of that sort when it came into the design. So you put the offer in. At that time, you had, how many homes had you seen, you think?
At least 15.
15, that's it?
15 to 20, yeah.
15 to 20 homes?
Yeah.
In person?
You saying that's it like it's not a lot. It's a lot of homes.
I looked at homes and it was like, dang, I'm on my
it was at least 15.
Home?
I read something the other day too. They said the average person looks at 10 homes before they make a decision. Okay,
so you about 15 homes.
Yeah.
So you and how many offers did you have put in at that time? Two. And then talk about that before. So she had put in 2 offers on 2 other type of properties, both still being able to house hack.
Yes.
Talk about just lightly why those 2 didn't work out.
Mainly just because after the due diligence period, the due diligence period, it just didn't work out. The homeowner was not trying to budge, and I had to walk away.
Based off what you saw in the inspection?
Correct. It was some things I couldn't look away from, which was the foundation. So
gotcha.
They were not trying to fix it. They said nothing was wrong.
Yeah. And this is before FHA 203k, right? That
yes.
You knew about this. So, but still, who wants to maybe to do a foundation, even though, I don't know, maybe you could have, but it would have eaten a lot of your budget. And then, so it just didn't work out. So you had put 2 offers in, seen about 15 homes. third one is the charm. What is it?
3 times the charm. You're
Three
right.
times the charm.
You're right about that.
So you put the offer in.
Mm-hmm.
But let's back it up. When did you talk to your lender about the FHA 203k? Once you sold the property is when you spoke to your lender about it, or when did you get involved with the FHA 203 lender?
So once I put in my offer, they accepted my offer. My realtor then just kind of gave me just like some key steps that I would need to be doing. And the realtor that I was working with at the time, still at the same company, he then reached out.
Realtor, the lender?
I'm sorry, the lender. Yes, the lender that I was working with at the same time. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, your realtor Telly stated that you're thinking about going the 203k route. I'm actually going to refer you to another person on my team that is way more knowledgeable in this process. We have our own team for this. So best of luck to you, basically." So I was able to meet Art Verbit, and he introduced himself and just, said all of his experience about 203k and home style. So that's how I got in contact with the lender.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So another lucky situation.
Yes.
Because you got your realtor who knew, then your lender happened to have a specialist on your team. So these are all, now that you know kind of who she got, when you're hunting for your realtor, when you're hunting for your lender, you might be lucky like her and just happen to stumble on a specialty 203k lender, or you might have to, lean in and say, "Hey, are you specializing in 203k loans?" Because not every lender.
No,
not every lender at all.
Because also too, I had 2 other lenders that I was speaking to at the same time as well. Because again, just wanted to keep my options open until it was time for me to actually go and put an offer in. And I asked the other 2, and they were talking me out of it, actually, saying that it was a lot of paperwork. Sometimes they, the GCs, and that just wasn't what I was trying to hear. So when the lender that I was working with as well for the current mortgage company, he immediately sent me over to his team. He was like, "Hey, I'm not as versed in this," and I went with them. That's why I stayed with them.
And you make a great point, because I think especially a lot of folks that are not used to working with banks outside of just, a checking account, savings account, kind of treat banks like doctors. I think I was telling you this, where they're the law. Like, what they say is the absolute truth. Just like with the doctor, you might need a second opinion. Just like with the banks, you might need a second opinion. And you never know, depending on your situation, there might be some lenders out there that are flexible. And let's talk about that. The one you're working with is a mortgage lender. They only do mortgages. So they only do things related to housing. But there are credit unions out there that are flexible. There are community banks that are out there flexible. Regular big time banks, federal banks. So there's just a whole bunch of different options when it comes to lenders that are available for you to look around. And just because one says no, I say about, after you've spoken to 27 of them, then it might be a no. But
3 is good.
3 is good. I keep going. Going.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. We can talk about that another time. But anyways, really search around. Really search around if you can't find the right fit, because there might be the lender out there for you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, does you feel the same way?
Yeah, good to know. I just did my 3.
You just did your 3. Yeah, You've been a lot luckier than some people. But anyways, so with that said, you got your lender now.
Yeah.
You ended up telling them, "Hey, listen, I'm under contract. Let's do the FHA 203k. They sent you to the specialist. Let's do it." So he told you it's going to close in about how many days? 45 days?
Yeah, he said 45 days. Yep.
Okay. So he said he's going to close in 45 days. You gave them asking price. And then how many days in due diligence? Do you remember?
14.
14 days in due diligence. Okay. So obviously you knew the single family needed a lot of work because you saw it down to the studs. Everybody's aware that there's work that needs to be done. You did an inspection on the additional dwelling unit. You looked and needed a little bit of love, but maybe not as much.
Right.
So one of the components of any type of mortgage is typically you need to get an inspection done. And you should always want to get an inspection done because you want to understand what type of house you bought. So you got the regular inspection as well as the sewer scope. Anything new popped up in any of those things that you were surprised about?
I'm really happy about the sewer scope. So one thing that the home that I was previously under contract for, I got a termite inspection. And that was something that my realtor recommended as well, because she did notice there were termites. And she mentioned a lot of things that some people skip over on home inspections are sewer scopes and sometimes termite inspections. So the area of the country that I live in, definitely never want to skip over those two. So got the sewer scope, and there were tree roots that had seeped into the pipes. So that was something that I found out during my due diligence period, and that was going to be something that was going to need to be addressed before closing.
Can I jump in and say something about the sewer scope? So typically with the sewer scope, they're coming in with a camera. They're looking at the sewer that's part of your side of the property versus the property, the sewer that's part of the city, right? If you have sewer, because some people have septic. But they literally stick a camera in the pipe and around it and see what's going on with the actual sewer on your side, because you're responsible of the one on the property versus the one on the street, which is the city or the county.
Right.
And as you can imagine, pipes, things of that sort get scary because it can get very, very expensive when you have damage to those pipes that you're responsible for. And it can damage a lot of what happens to your property. So you did the sewer scope, you learned that there was roots coming through and throughout. What was your next thought?
Definitely, after talking to you, you said that's something that you can ask for closing credits for. And I went to my realtor about it and said, this is something that I found with, the due diligence, because the house next door was coming as is. So anything wrong with this house, I was going to make sure that I got the full amount, because he stated it was just next door. So I just asked for full seller credits.
Which is 6%?
6%
of the purchase price.
That's correct.
Yeah, for FHA, I think conventional might be a bit different, but FHA, it's 6% of the purchase price for closing credits. The closing credits allow them to credit you when you close at the end, when you get to closing. And so the cash that you bring to the table, which is, remember again, was your down payment and your closing costs, that gets subtracted by the credit that they agree on. In your case, you asked for it all because how much it was going to cost. So you didn't just come up with this number, right? You got professional quotes.
Correct.
So do you want to talk a little bit more about experience you got, maybe, or?
Yeah. So during the due diligence period, I was able to I got 2 quotes, because I always wanted to make sure that if they came back and said, well, you only got 1 quote, I got 2 quotes, quoted me about the same price, one to cut down the trees and to clear the sewer lines. So it was a couple of different options. One of the options were getting a whole new sewer line. So I also brought that to the table so they could see, how much it really would be. So with all that, evidence that we gave to them, they were like, it justified the 6% ask.
Perfect. And so you can ask for closing credits no matter what. You can always ask for closing credits. You don't even have to do an inspection to ask for closing credits. You can.
Oh, sorry. I got excited.
No, go ahead.
And if you can explain why it's important to ask for closing credits versus for, just say again, if the house was $100,000, a lot of people automatically think, oh, something's wrong with the house, I should ask for $10,000 off of the house versus closing credits. Can you explain to them why?
Yeah,
that's not a good idea.
Well, I would say not
a good idea, but
there's a better alternative.
Correct.
Yeah, I would say, okay, so you have a couple options, right? Asking price is $100,000. You could ask and say, I'm gonna offer you $90,000, or you could say, I'm gonna offer you $100,000, and I would like $10,000 in closing credits. There's a big difference, right? So when you offer $90,000 compared to $100,000, which is what they asked for, a couple things there. One, your mortgage, your monthly payment only goes down very minimum, right? We're talking about a payment that's for 30 years long. While instead, if you said $100,000 minus, I would like to have $10,000 in closing credit, that is $10,000 in green that you do not have to put out today towards your down payment and closing costs. So you decide what's most important to you today or in the long term, but numbers wise, it's better to have the closing credits. And then at the end of the day, it's still $90,000, whether you did $90,000 you offered to him or her versus $100,000 minus the $10,000 in closing credits. They still will only get $90,000, for the seller.
Right.
But closing credits, preferably, if we're talking about a $10,000 difference, which is typically what you're talking about when you are looking at properties today. So yeah, that was the piece there. And so you asked for 6%. They came back and said 6%.
They said 3.5%.
They came back and said 3.5%. So you came back in there. You showed them the professionals how much they quoted you, which was more than 6%, right?
Yeah.
So you said, I'm gonna just do the 6% because that's all I can legally do. Just give it to me. They said, we'll give you 3.5. What did you say?
I asked my realtor why, because again, I was giving them reasons why I wanted 6%, and that was just the number they thought was a good number to give.
Get a half. They're just negotiating.
Yeah. They saw 3.5 in the air and they decided to take it.
Let's just try 3.5 and see. And this is back to who's on your team, your realtor, and being aggressive, and then also to you as the future homeowner, understanding the game and understanding what kind of market you're in.
Right.
First of all, at the end of the day, she was really only purchasing, as of is today, she was the perfect buyer. And so if I'm the seller, you really don't want to miss out on this opportunity, because who else is doing the 203k loan? Who else? They're gonna, if you get an investor or a flipper, they're gonna negotiate way lower pricing. Like, they knew they had the perfect buyer, so they should have, let's make this deal close. And so she came back and they said yes. Awesome. So you can get closing credits with the FHA 203k loan. So now you got 6% of the purchase price down.
Can we tell them how much we paid? Or not we. Not we.
I gotta pay damn thing.
Can we tell them how much I paid for 2 homes on a great size lot? I don't want to tell you how much the house was, but the closing I'm most excited about in the deal. So
the closing credits, they gave you 6%. After that, you were like, I really want to close on this property. It took 45 days to close. Before we wrap up about when you closed all the details, just give them something. Give them something. How much did you bring to the closing table?
So for 2 homes, the own backyard, I only bought $13,700, like $700 to the table. $13,000 to the table.
And you got 2 homes?
I got 2 homes for $13,000. Okay.
We'll come back to that.
So $13,000 down.
$13,000. No, all in.
Yeah, all in.
That's your down payment and your closing costs.
Yeah.
You had to sign or wire, because you don't. I always wanted to bring a bag of cash one day.
Counter by hand.
Oh yeah. No, they would have a money counter.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but anyways. I don't know what year you thought this was. But anyways, $13,000 to closing costs, which you had wired. Or $14,000, give or take. Cool. But let's before we get to closing table. I know that was exciting, and those are what those credits are being used for. So you decided, okay, cool. He negotiated you on the price after you did the inspection. The inspection is part of your closing costs that they estimate, but you have to pay that out of pocket.
Correct.
There is another component that the bank sends out. There's a couple, which is the HUD consultant that you have to figure out and sort out with. Sorry, the bank actually brings out the appraiser.
The appraiser.
That's what I meant to say. But the HUD consultant and the GC now are another component, a part of this project. So you got the money down. You're like, cool. All right. So let's talk about it. What came first? You doing research on the HUD consultant or the GC?
So this after closing?
Well, no. To be able to close,
gotcha.
Right?
Yeah. So
because
the HUD consultant.
Because you have to get this all sorted before you can close.
Right.
Yeah.
The HUD consultant.
Yes. Yeah. So you have to get all of this sorted before you can even get to closing. And the first thing during the due diligence period, right, is, which it was 14 days. Is it during the due diligence period or is it before the 45 days of closing? Because the due diligence period you said was only 14 days. When did you get in there with the HUD consultant and the GC?
This was after the due diligence period.
Yeah.
So this is probably like now going on day 16 or 17.
Okay, so let's back it up. What has happened is you did the inspection. It came back with some things. You wanted to negotiate the price before you even pulled, like, hey, if the price ain't working, we might not do this. You negotiated the closing credits. Cool, the price looks good. Now let's go ahead and the purchase price looks good. Now let's talk about the renovation piece.
And then, so once they accepted, I got the closing credits, I then had to put down earnest money. Like another, it was two deposits of earnest money.
Yeah.
And I want to put that in there too, because after your due diligence period is ended, the seller could ask for another deposit of earnest money.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what he did. And
it's state specific on the earnest situation.
Yeah.
So when you put the offer in to even go on contract, you had put an earnest money amount, right?
No. Well, after it was accepted.
Yeah, after it was accepted.
After it was accepted, yes. In the stipulations, he wanted two deposits. The first one was, after, and then after the inspection period and our terms were accepted, he then wanted to have another deposit.
Okay, so when he accepted the offer, there was two earnests that he wanted. One at the beginning, and then one after the due diligence period.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay, and so now, due diligence period, everything's going good. You submitted that second earnest money amount. Now it's time to figure out who your team is.
Yeah.
So it's determined, you don't know yet how much your renovation cost is going to be. You don't know who your GC is. You don't know who your HUD consultant is.
Mm-hmm.
So what came first?
Finding a GC to tell me how much the scope of work would be.
Exactly, because then that determines if you need a HUD consultant or not, right? Okay, so let's talk about finding a GC. How did you even begin at finding a GC? Remember, Janae, luxury apartment complex that you were in. Did you say you did change the light bulb?
No. That's what the luxury apartment.
That's what the luxury apartment life is. How did you even go about finding a GC?
Google. I typed in 203 experienced contractors. And that's how I was able to find it. So
how many did you find?
I found a good bit. I found it was a page. It was of HUD consultants, and this was a separate page, but of contractors, and I went down the list. Yeah.
Okay. So there was a general contractor for 203k website.
Yes.
And you could change the states on that page, right?
Yes, you can. Mm-hmm.
I think it was like, what was it called? General contractor 203k.com or something like that. So, but it was dated website, right?
It was dated because a lot of people didn't call me back. So I was just really going with people that called me back. So on that long list, only 2 people called me back. And then the third was somebody my realtor recommended from her 203k experience.
Gotcha. Okay. So went on that website, called it a little bit dated and checked it out. Okay. So you have your 3 people now, your 3 GCs. What does that procedure even look like?
Yeah, you're just calling them and telling them what you're trying to do, 203k, and, just give them the address and they come out and see what needs to be done on the project. Okay.
I would like to say that we've seen some information that there are people that charge people to come and see the house and even give you a quote.
Mine did not.
You did not. And so you might, it's not rare to hear that, but you didn't have anybody charge you to come out to see the place.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So you got three quotes. What are you looking for as you speak to these GCs? And
so, I would say demeanor. Like, I know a lot of people look for different things, but one, I was looking for their demeanor, truly how they made me feel. Was I comfortable enough to ask a question? How did they respond to my questions? Were they rushing me? Were they any type of red flag that was thrown? And again, they didn't know that I had multiple people that I was interviewing during this time. But really I was just doing what I like to call a character check. They, weeded themselves out.
Okay. So again, Janae doesn't have any renovation experience. So not once did she say knowledge.
No, because I'm not knowledgeable about this, but I work with people. I know people's habits. I know when somebody is a little off with their attitude. Yeah. So to me, something like this, I need to be able to trust you. Something with this big of a project, I need to be able to trust you. So I really just went on how they made me feel.
Good. And it's good to say that. I'm glad you said that, because some people might be new to all of this and they're like, I don't know anything about renovation. How do I know that I can sign me out? But you're saying, like, you don't necessarily need to. You just need to be able to try to judge good character. And then you'll learn as you go. And we'll talk about a huge component about not worrying so much about the knowledge of a renovation because of the HUD consultant in that case. But that's great insight. And then as you kept interviewing more contractors, because you walk with them, and it's important to be there when they're doing the walkthrough so you can feel how they're feeling, right?
Yeah. And for instance, like, I wanted a bathroom upstairs that we'll probably get into later, I'm sure. But one of them or two of them said, a bathroom couldn't be done. Like, we can't do that. That's not gonna work. It's just the plumbing. It's mainly the plumbing, but it still wasn't a good enough answer to me. And again, don't have any renovation experience, but it was almost like, no, I can't do that. Not really explaining why you couldn't do that. So when I went with my GC that I had today, one, she said she could do it, and two, anytime there was something that like, can we do this? She's like, we can see, but there's a possibility that we can't because of this.
As I mentioned earlier, Janae is looking for hustlers on her team. Go-getters on her team. You talk about your
people who don't tell me no. I'm like,
tell me, don't say no. But I'm gonna look into it and see what I can do. Okay, cool. So that explains it there. So that's how you kind of figured out, spoke to about different GCs and how you found them. And then you decided to go with one. Okay, cool. So we have our GC. The GC came in and sent you a written scope of work.
Yes.
That's what they're doing. They're not just coming and telling you the price. They're eventually sending you the scope of work. You see the scope of work? Did you hit that 75,000 plus?
I did.
You did. So what was your thoughts? I mean, you obviously saw the property, so you knew it was going to be a pretty chunk of change. But now for your first one, you're at a 75,000 plus renovation.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts?
Whoa. Is the bank gonna approve this?
Yeah, it's the bank gonna approve it, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. And so, cool. So now you realize that you need a HUD consultant. Okay, 75,000 and up, you need to have a HUD consultant. The bank tells you that you need a HUD consultant. Did we talk about yet what a HUD consultant is? Yes, we did. We talked about them being that middleman. So, how do you even find a HUD consultant?
I went online. I did 203k HUD consultant.
You didn't door knock? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
You went online?
I went online and I did that. And again, like the other site for the GCs, that was very dated. And I know we talk about GCs. I did not do my due diligence with this contractor. I really went with the HUD consultant. I really went with the HUD consultant that called me back. And that was it. And made a mistake right there. Are we going to get into that? Or are you going to wait?
Yeah, not too much, but enough for them to understand.
Yeah.
So the first HUD consultant you called back, you're hired. You pretty much hired. Well, like, what did you do?
You're hired. You're come out to the property. You can get this figured out. And yeah, just to wrap everything up, he didn't do what he said he was going to do. He took a long time to respond back to me, to send the scope of work. I had to beg almost for him to send it to me. And just some things that he missed on his scope of work, which I just didn't realize. I didn't think, like, how could that be missed? Like he said, it was no crawl space, and there was clearly a crawl space in the basement.
Yeah.
So again, character check. And by this time,
can I just come in real quick?
Yeah.
The HUD consultant is supposed to come out to the property, do their own inspection, because to be a HUD consultant, you have an inspector background or architectural background. You have a lot of good real estate knowledge. So you can come out there and do your own inspection, and they're looking at all the things that need to be improved, as well as the things she told the HUD consultant that she wants to add on there, as well as making sure that it is FHA guideline approved as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just those red flags that I was looking for in the contractor, he had all those qualities. So
HUD consultant.
The HUD consultant, yes. So I didn't want to work with him anymore. And he had already been chosen. I had already told the bank, because again, you are giving this information to the bank so they can, make sure this is correct, everything's documented. So the bank had already been, or my lender was already aware that I went with this HUD consultant, and I just told my lender I didn't want to work with him.
Okay, so you gave him the information, you told him that this was who I was working with, and then you started not liking him.
Yes, and the information he had submitted, was a little late, and then that's why I was like, I don't want to work with you anymore. So yeah, so my lender advised that I could work with someone else.
Okay, so you let him go.
Yes.
That energy, that great energy that you're feeling about your GC, you were not feeling about the HUD consultant.
That's correct.
Okay, and so now let's talk a little bit about, well, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna find another HUD consultant? What were you thinking? What happened?
Yeah, so my lender, after he heard my concerns, he reached out. He said, I have a great HUD consultant that's been doing this for a very long time. You should reach out to him. And so I reached out to him, told him a little bit about what happened, and he met me at the property the next day.
Okay, he did the scope of work. You liked him. You hired him.
Yes, he did the scope of work, and he had a young woman with him, and she was shadowing him to be a HUD consultant herself. And at the time, I didn't know who she was, I just knew that she was in training to be a HUD consultant. So during this, Paul is, getting to know me, talking to me about, he did something, it was just a total 360 from what the other person was doing. He was, mentioning, the first HUD consultant didn't even look at this house. Paul came and was telling me, oh, well,
look at what house?
The additional dwelling unit.
Gotcha.
Next to the single family.
Okay.
And he said, since they're both under the same loan, they both have to come together in this inspection process. So right there, that let me know, okay, he was a little more diligent on what he was doing and what he said. So we were talking, and then again, the young woman with him he was showing her different things that a HUD consultant does. And she again began talking to me as well. And I was like, well, what do you do? She's like, oh, well, I'm a general contractor. I just want to get, and I'm a licensed
General contractor.
No, inspector. Okay. I do home inspections as well. And I do, have different trades in this. She said, the last thing I want to do is be a HUD consultant so I can have, everything. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so at the end of this, after they did their inspection and gave the scope of work, she was like, hey, I think that I would like to put a bid in as well. She was like, have you chosen a contractor? And I was like, no, I have not. And she was like, I would love to put a bid in on this.
Okay. So there's been a lot of details. Because, again, this is all still before we've closed.
Right.
Before you've closed, that's okay. But you've closed. 45 days, okay? So during this process, you've already gotten the inspection.
Mm-hmm.
Negotiated closing credits. You started looking for a GC. And you were also looking for the HUD consultant kind of around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You really kind of found a GC, but wasn't really 100% sure. Then you hire a HUD consultant. Didn't like the HUD consultant. Fire the HUD consultant. You're told a new HUD consultant. He comes with another person who's a licensed GC. She gives a quote, and now you realize, oh, this is my dream team.
Yes.
So you chose him as a HUD consultant and her as a GC.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's your team. So they get the scope of work. The lender gets the scope of work done back from the GC and the scope of work from the HUD consultant. And now they have the total price of how much this property, both the single family and the ADU, was going to cost in renovation. But the renovations were all just the single family, right? Or was there any renovations for the ADU that were in that cost?
No.
Okay. So all that money pretty much was for the single family, or was for the single family. Okay. So the renovation portion of the FHA 203k, 100% of the budget was dedicated to the single family that was on stud.
Yes.
down to the studs. And then the remainder of what was left was you have your additional dwelling unit, and now we also have it to be appraised. Okay, so of course, cool. You found the house, you found what you want to do to it. The bank has approved that you can do these things, right? It's not adding a pool, it's not adding a rooftop bar. It's really things to make the house functional. And then you can put like you wanting to add a bathroom. And you can also pick your color of your cabinets. You can do those details too. So with that said, then the bank said that this is what they can do and this is the amount. Before they close the loan, they need to make sure it's worth what they're about to do. So they send an appraiser down and hire, I think, a third-party contractor to do the appraisal. And this is a portion of this money is out of your closing costs. That's already dedicated towards this. And you get an appraisal done. You get 2 appraisals done. Can you explain what those 2 appraisals are?
Yeah, so the first appraisal is what the house is actually worth. And then the second appraisal is the what the house is going to be worth after the repairs. Okay,
and when she says house, that is the whole property itself.
Correct.
Because again, she has 2 homes, a single family and an ADU. The first one, what it's appraised for as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one after the renovations are done.
Yes.
In order to close the loan, both of them need to be the amount or more than what you are buying and renovating for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're buying a house for $100,000, the purchase price as it is today, it needs to be worth at least $100,000. Then when you do the renovations, when you put the work in, right, 100,000 plus 100,000 now is 200,000. The bank is going to give you that additional 100,000. That means that the property need to be worth at least 200,000 after the renovations. This is where it's game changing, because the work that you mentioned to me that you're getting done versus what the home got appraised for was about a $15,000 delta, right?
Mm-hmm.
So $15,000 you already got in equity based off of what the home will be appraised for based off the renovation. So just for example, again, $100,000 purchase price, $100,000 in renovation. That means $200,000 is what the appraised after renovation cost needs to be, but it came back $215,000. So that means you already have $15,000 in equity, and you can keep that form. And should you ever need to get it appraised, and if it ever does get appraised less after you've done the renovations, you can bring that form to them and let them know, hey, I want to fight this because they already said this. I had a friend of mine go through that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So now you're at the closing table. You bring $14,000. You take pictures. You take video. Did you get a bottle of wine? What did you get? A bottle of wine? You got something. Gift.
No, she gave me, a gift card. A gift card.
Yeah, she gave you a gift.
Better than wine.
Better than wine. Pop, it's on. It's on and popping. So now it's go time with FHA 203k. Now let's talk about the process, how it goes. You mentioned that there is a draw that happens, right? So back to the renovation loan, the portion,
mm-hmm.
You're working with the general contractor. Your general contractor is not going to get all that money up front. Here you go, do the renovation. They're going to get it in a draw.
Right.
So talk about the draw process and how that works.
Yeah, so you're paid in 5 draws, and it's no particular order, but that's how many times the contractor's paid for the work.
So they split it up. It's not evenly split. They say, hey,
you can also draw off percentages, so you don't have to draw the full amount. You can draw based off percentages too.
Gotcha. So there's 5 draws. You work the bank, or who works on the draw schedule? Who's kind of talking about it?
The contractor and the HUD consultant.
Okay, gotcha. So there's 5 draws that are allocated. The contractor does the work.
Oh, I do want to mention too. So my lender, who is experienced in 203k, there's also a separate team which is called the disbursement team, and I also had a disbursement specialist named Gretchen.
Okay. Awesome. And Gretchen was the person that handled the communication with the HUD consultant and you?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. So you weren't really working with Art on that piece?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So now you're passed on.
Yeah. So because we've already closed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Art has already sold what he needed to sell. We are now done with Art, and now we're on the disbursement specialists team.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's 5 draws, and they say what they want to do, and then they show it to your HUD consultant. Mm-hmm. They do it. You sign off. Your HUD consultant signs off. It's been done, and then they get paid. So that piece right there is the hardest piece with contractors. If you've worked with contractors or know, normally they don't even have money for the next day sometimes. So the issue is, can you find somebody who can leverage money to do the work before they get paid? And you're like, well, why would any contractor want to do that, right? Even though every other industry, you do the work and then you get paid, right? We feed them and then we get paid. Then we get paid. But the biggest reason why I believe that contractors are in there, one that do this, is because there's a lot of red tape, and they know that there's not that many contractors, so they're able to kind of push their prices up there, right?
Right.
Because when you receive that scope of work, that cost, let's talk about it. You don't know construction, but how was it compared to maybe the street cost if you were to get, not so much red tape?
Yeah. I didn't look at that.
Okay. I bet you saw that. Okay, there was a difference. A little bit of a difference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, the contractor is willing to maneuver the red tape, and also too, prices might vary a little bit different because there's not as many competitors out there. Also too, because they're doing so much red tape, because they're leveraging their own money before they get paid, they want a little bit more money for that, which is understandable because they're doing a different type of style. So you have the 5 draws, and that's the process of the draw process. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now let's jump into the actual work and get into it. So thanks for sharing that about the draw. Now let's get into the construction. We don't have to get into the dirty details, but you were told 5 months for construction, and when did you get it done?
In about 5.5 months, yeah.
5.5 months. Wow. So we won't give you all the dirty details, and I have plenty of videos of the work and the progress that you guys can continue to watch on the YouTube page. But talk about the construction process as a whole. You were moved into the additional dwelling unit.
Yes.
So you got to live right next door. And how was the construction process as a whole?
Yeah, so the longest part of the construction part was getting permits. We did have to go to the township and get permits, and I did need all 3 permits. So the building, the plumbing, and the electrical permit. Yep. So that was the longest part of it. But once we got our permits, we were able to move pretty quickly. Started on the roof, worked our way in on the plumbing and electrical, worked our way into more, got the drywall, worked our way in a little bit more, got paint, worked our way in a little bit more, got the floors, and so on and so forth. So it was, we started outside and just kind of worked our way in.
Did a little bit, signed off, paid. Did a little bit, signed off, paid.
Yeah, it was really seamless. It really was.
And you have a budget, a scope of work, and they literally are checking off what each draw and how much and what's getting done.
Correct.
Awesome. So super organized. Now, that was happening here. Can you talk about what you got to pick? What you got to put your taste on? How was that piece? I think a lot of people get excited about that.
Yeah, I think that part I feel like I didn't get to enjoy enough because I was just so ready to get it done. But if I had to do it all over again, I would really take my time and really just go in the house, see what walls are going to be like a certain color. But it still turned out really pretty. But One thing what was the question again?
Just what things you got to put your taste on and pick out.
Yeah, definitely the color of the inside of the house, the type of trim I wanted. Also too, like the type of cabinets I wanted in the kitchen, the flooring, the lighting,
everything.
The vanity, everything. I got to put my own personal Janae touch. And if you look at the house on the inside,
we'll make sure to add a final walkthrough video at the end of the
yeah, so if you see the inside of it, it's definitely parts of me in that house that just kind of what you grew up on, like the ceiling fan. I know this part of the country is not, you don't really need a ceiling fan, but I always thought it was like a nice little touch in the bedroom. It was a ceiling fan. And then like the back door has its own type of, what coating would you say?
Like stained glass?
The stained glass. Like I love stained glass. I just think that's another part of my Southern touch in the house. And it's just like the floor is just like nice and airy. So I just really enjoyed that part of the selection process.
Okay, so yeah, you can pick everything out. You don't need to know everything that you want to do right away. Your contractor will work with you. We'll take you to the cabinet store.
Right.
We'll point out, send you pictures.
Yeah.
This is what we were saying earlier. She used a lot of her resources like ChatGPT, Pinterest, and so forth to help figure out what you wanted to do, what it looked like. So yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, that's pretty much how the construction piece went. I think the one thing that you had, I would too just say there's going to be some things maybe you don't like that you need to probably speak up on. And then also too, you had to have an additional draw, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anything else about the construction piece that you wanted to point out to?
No, I think we touched on everything. I think definitely just making sure that you speak up when you don't like something. Because again, I think I had a great general contractor, but you still have to make sure that you're speaking up on things that you don't like. Because again, you trusted that person enough to be your GC, so you have to trust that they're going to take what you're saying, serious, and they'll fix it, which she did.
Yeah, and also too, again, every city county varies, and depending on how much work you're doing, may probably run into having a city or county inspector. So you had a lot of eyes on your property, right? You had your GC, you had the city county inspector, you had the HUD consultant. So you have a good bit of people who are working with you on this product.
Yeah.
So then it gets done. So the strategy you'll be doing is, obviously you have a requirement to live in the home for 1 year, which again, that means on the property. So her additional dwelling unit. You're going to be renting out the other unit. Mm-hmm. And house hacking and having that subsidize your mortgage. Is that the plan?
That is the plan.
And then afterwards, what is your plan? Because you said this is your first one. What do you think you can do for this?
Yeah, I definitely plan to keep this property as long as I can, and either rent this out. I'm really leaning towards short-term rental. Rent this ADU. Rent the ADU out. So yeah, I plan to keep this property as long as possible, rent it out, keep it rented. This is a great area, so I don't think it'll be a problem being rented. And then my next project would be, I would like to do a flip. So that's what's next.
So that's what's opened up. Can we talk a little bit about the benefits of just this property and real estate as a whole now that you are in it? Because you like you said, you were renting for a while, and what type of benefits have came from home ownership?
For me or for
for you, and then other people, what do you think would be some benefits?
Benefits for me, definitely from a tax perspective. I think this was this helped me with my taxes because I am a small business owner, and definitely just giving me more experience of working on a project, managing people. And one thing that I feel like a lot of people get mad at investors or landlords, but you kind of looked at me, but you made this point the other day. I think it's great because you are bringing jobs to the community.
The subcontractor.
The subcontractors. You're getting a painter. You're getting somebody that does drywall, roofing. You're adding money to the city because you're paying for permits. So I think it definitely helps the economy too as well, like big picture. So That's one thing I think. Yeah. Oh, and also too, adding value to the neighborhood. This property was an eyesore for a very long time, and being able to now go from the worst looking house on the street to now being a nice looking house on the street is a good feeling.
And the best part too is, again, the city only sees what she purchased the property for. So when you purchase a home for, like, let's say a home that's like super already move-in ready, and the home before, when they originally sold it, when they originally bought it, was like $100,000. Now they're selling a home to you for $400,000 because it's appraised, whatever. Taxes get re-looked at and gets reassessed at. So now the city comes out and looks like, oh, now the home is $400,000. Let's reassess the taxes. The best part is Janae, she bought the home for what it looked like back today. She's done a full renovation. The home's not going to get reassessed until you go and somebody else buys the home, because they're not going to change it to the big purchase price, because everything you did was inside the home.
Yeah. So
they'll look, I mean, obviously they might reassess it every year or every 2 years, but they have no purchase price besides what you purchased for, which is not really what the home is worth at all.
Yeah.
So now from a property tax standpoint, that's amazing, because you get the purchase price property taxes as your property taxes compared to really what the house is worth, which you already know because you got it appraised for. So that's like another hidden thing that's pretty exciting. And as you said, like, that's a cool part about being investing. And as you hear, Janae wants to do another one, a third one, a fourth one. So you would say you would do this again?
Yes, I would. Yeah. And I'll try to use the same team. If I can't use them, if I happen to go to another state, because I want to use them, but if I happen to go to another state or go a little further, I'll definitely try to use them in their connection to people they know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last thing, do you have anything that you would share with them all that you would recommend? Any final pointers?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to do it. It's not as bad as they make it seem. It's not as scary.